Right. So this is a lesson which I can learn some new things from yourself, right? So the lesson is Internet and Electronic Mail, right? So which is a very common topic and which is a very renowned topic for you, right? So like you know this better than me, I'm pretty sure, right? So let's see what is there for us to learn in here, right? So it is all about internet and email. So I think I really don't want to introduce you the internet now. You know what the internet is. So maybe you don't know how the internet is being created, or like how it actually creates. So internet, it is a collection of networks. So like in short terms, we say internet is the network of networks, right? So like it is the network of networks which are connected through the high-speed communication channels all over the globe, right? To share the details or like do the communications in between the people, in between organizations, in between many parties all around the world. So it is kind of a most valuable service that we are having in the in at present, right? Because without internet, most of our functions now will be stopped, right? So internet is managed by the organization. It's a non-profitable organization called the Internet Society, right? Where they having the charge of ethics and the principles regarding the internet, right? As well as when we are using the internet, there are certain rules to be obeyed during the communication. Actually, it's not by us. When during the data has been communicated, some of the rules should be carried out when the data communication is done. So those are called protocols, right? So there are very famous protocol. There is a very famous protocol called TCP/IP, which is heavily used with the internet. And other than that, there are several other protocols as well, right? Like the one I think that you have seen, like HTTP, right? So it is not that much noticeable when you are referring the internet, but it is there always with the browser, right? And HTTP is also a protocol which stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol, right? So likewise, when they are doing the communication through the internet, there are a certain amount of protocols that we have to go through, right? And again, what you have to remember is like there is nothing to do, like as the final user, as the end users, we have nothing to do with the protocols. Protocols will be carried out and taken care of by the network maintenance, as well as the authorized parties from those different kinds of organizations, right? So now when we need to refer, or like when we need to connect with a particular website inside the internet, we use something called URL, which stands for Uniform Resource Locator, right? And URL will help us to find a particular website or a particular resource inside a website, and will allow us to use that particular resource, right? So the excuse me, if we really know the URL, we can directly visit to the place that we are intending to go, right? And if we really don't know to which site or to which particular web that you need to jump on, then you can use a facility like search engines, which will help you to use or to find different types of services and different types of tasks, right? As they as it is being advanced, right? So if you really don't know what's the URL that you need to visit, So through the search engine, through the keyword, you will be able to find out a list of URLs which matches your keyword, right? So then, of course, you have to go through that list and search whether there are any, search whether your particular needed link or the needed website is just under that list, right? So they have shown you a structure of the URL over here, right? This is something that you and me are typing or like that you can see on the address bar of a browser, right? So if you just think about my website. So the URL for my website is this, https://starlabs.lk. So when I'm going through the several different things inside the website, my URL differs, as you can see. Right, so as you can see, there are different wordings and different parts are being illustrated over here with the URL. So it differs from page to page. If I go to About Us page, and if I go for the Contact Us, it's a different URL that we have. Yes, that's it. What you are saying is correct. Now, if you like come into the my particular place, you can see it is as HTTPS as well, right? And in some of the cases, it just go with HTTP, right? Which means the browsers are saying it is not trusted, right? The trusted means like you are not advised to give your sensitive data into that website. Not that it has malwares and all these things. If you are going to refer this particular website, you should not share your sensitive details and private details with these kind of website, which are saying not secured or goes only with HTTP, right? As well as when it comes to the hold on, when it comes to the when it comes to the most of the websites in the world, like they are going on the secured manner, right? But again, to acquire the secured certificate, you have to pay and take it, right? And I wonder like how could I receive the HTTPS, because earlier it was not HTTPS, it was just HTTP. Now it shows HTTPS, right? Anyway, right, so this particular URL is shown on the address bar of the website. Okay, so let's see what are the things that we can find in the URL. First one is called the protocol, right? The first part. So this actually hypertext transfer protocol, which stands for transferring HTML documents from one place to another, right? That means like when you are referring something on your computer, that particular website is given by from another computer or maybe the server at some other end, right? So this contains documents which belongs to the website. So when we need to refer that, this should be communicated to this particular computer. Right, so transferring these documents, these are called hypertext document. So transferring these documents into a particular place all around the world is called the hypertext transfer. Right, so that is why the hypertext transfer protocol is there. So then the www stands for World Wide Web, which is considered to be the most famous service in the internet, right? And edupub.gov.lk, this stands for the domain name, right? And this edupub is just indicated as the domain. And this gov.lk, right? It is talking about the top level domain, and the top level domain is called about the .lk part, right? And the other domains are like the like gov.lk. When it comes to these two parts together, we call it just domains. This is called the top level domain, the LK part. So when you have a lot of dot parts in your URL, so after the very final dot, what you can find is going to be your top level domain, right? And from here to here, it is about the path to the specific resource. So when it comes to the particular resource, you can find it on this, like, right? So when you reach this path, you can take this kind of document. So for that, you have to find this and come in a systematical way. Okay, people, are we clear about this? Yes, Behara. .gov is also a normal domain name, a top level domain. You can take as a top level domain as well as inside a domain criteria as well. No, Sasrika, I'm hosting my website in a shared server. I have rented out some server space, so I pay it annually, and I'm going to I'm updating it regularly through my like what you call the cPanel and stuff. Right? Yeah. Yeah. That's what you mean. That's what you mean, Sasrika. Government means GOV. Right. Okay. So let's quickly write about these things. Have the heading, the internet and the electronic mail. Right. Are we done with the topic? Okay. If you are done with the topic, let's go with this. Yeah. Write this as the first point. Yes, Sasrika. There are. Then you have to say the internet, then from here. Does not process. Right. So with the internet, you better write about this internet society part. Yeah. So regarding that, those 2 points are enough. Let me know when you are done, people. Yes, people, are we done? People, let me know when you are done. Okay, one is done. How about others? All right. Anyone who is still writing? Okay, Udamya, finish it off. Let me know when you are done. Right. So let's move forward. Hold on. In here. Yeah, let's write the heading like this. Heading is going to be uniform resource locator. Yeah, then yes, you can write this as the first point under that. Right, then after I'll tell you the sentence that you need to write. All right, are we done with this sentence, people? So this is the heading, this is the first point under it. Are we done with that, people? Can I tell you the second one? Okay, so write the second one like this. The system used to uniquely identify, it's over here. The system used to uniquely identify, the one that I highlighted in the purple. The system used to uniquely identify various resources in the websites. Various resources in the website. Various websites is called URL. Is called URL. And when you are done with that, have this subheading and then throw this URL, people, this big diagram. Right, this entire thing. Let me know when you are done, people. Okay, one is done. How about others? Okay, so it seems everyone is done. And I want you to add some more details to these people. So it's better you circle these two things and say domains. And then you circle the LK part and say top level domains. Top level domain, I'm sorry. Okay, people, are we done? Anyone who is still writing this? Okay, so moving forward. Yeah, it's better you write this as well, the important notice. That means if it's going to be a URL, at least it should be from here to here, right? At least it should have up to this. So you better write this. Right. Okay, can we move forward? Okay, people. So let's move forward. Yeah, before I come to this IP address, first I'll talk about this domain name, since the domain name is mentioned over there. Right, so domain name is nothing. It is about the particular web address that we are using. It's kind of a name of the website, right? Each and every domain name has a domains like com, org, gov, edu kind of things. Like, as you can remember, like what? Etaxalava, mov.gov.lk it has, and the facebook.com, google.com, right? Some org domain is there to indicate that it is a non-profitable organization, right? And gov, it is indicate the government owned or the public domain, right? Edu stands for educational domains, right? So likewise, there are some domains which indicates what's the purpose of this particular website, as well as there are domains which indicates the country, right? So like .lk is used to indicate Sri Lanka, right? .in indicates India, right? Likewise, .au is for Australia, .jp is for Japan, UK is for United Kingdom, US for United States. Likewise, it can be used to indicate to which country this particular website is belongs to, right? So like I said earlier, the rightmost corners, the rightmost corner domain is called as the top level domain. In short terms, we tell TLD, top level domain. Right, so yeah, that is the story about the domain name and the domains, right? So here they have given some examples which has domain names like google.com, edupub.gov.lk, likewise, and you can see the top level domains over here. .com is the top level domain over here, .lk is the top level domain over here, here the .lk, .org, likewise. Is that clear, everyone? All right, so let's write about this shortly. Right, have the subheading called domain name. Yeah, that's my little one, people. So you have to stay with that. So domain name, and write the things that I'm going to highlight, right? So after the domain name, write down the highlighted parts. Are we done, people? You have to write the table as well. Okay, one is done. How about others? Anyone who is still writing? All right, we are moving forward. So you have to write about this country domain as well. These particular things. All right, one is done. How about others? Right, moving forward. Yeah, before we talk about how internet works, we'll talk about the IP address. Now, the things are going to happen like this, people. Now, IP address. First of all, what you have to identify is IP address is something that defines or that identifies a particular device inside a network. Right? And if you think about this type of scenario, let me show you. Right? If you think about a scenario like this, now you got a device. So let's say this is a PC. And we are going to connect with another device of another PC. So they say this is PC1, this is PC2. Think about your laboratory, right? The computer lab that you have at your school, right? We have a small device called switch. Right. So that switch will be connected with each and every device. Right. So if this is your computer lab's sketch, so I know your computer lab has many amount of devices. Right. So in that network, so this is a small network which you call local area network. In that network, when this PC1 needs to communicate with PC2, they can use the IP address to define one particular device into another, but it is not a must, right? Since it is a small network and a one single network, they can communicate without knowing the IP address of each other. Right? There are some other ways of like identifying the MAC address and all these things. Now, the problem comes when the two computers are communicating through the internet. Right? So that scenario goes like this. You got a particular device, right? So this is a PC. And let's think there is another device. It is PC2. And we are going to communicate through the internet. Through the internet with this particular device. Right? So this device, if a one device need to be communicated with another device through the internet, they need an address called IP address. Right? IP address is something like this. Something like this. And this is something unique for the devices, right? That means once this is being owned by some particular device, it cannot be given to another at the same time, right? So when a particular device need to communicate with another device in the internet, they need an IP address of each other, right? So this may have an IP address like 192.143.45.76. This may have another IP address called 180.56.38.191. Now, when this device, when the PC1 knows the PC2's IP address, then this can create a message and send it to the PC2, right? So to send it from this particular end to this particular device, we need these IP addresses to communicate. Now, the problem is, yes, Sasrika, I'll tell you what happens over there, right? And what happened is, as the people, we can't remember IP addresses of the devices all around the world, which is not possible and practical, right? So instead of that, what the internet does is, when we need to communicate, our internet service provider has a particular computer called, we call it a server, the DNS server, domain name system server, which has a big list of domain names I will type this down. And the relevant IP addresses. Right? So, like, think about when we are accessing a particular computer or a particular website very easily. What we are doing is, we will be given a particular web address to our PC, like on the web browser, right? That is what is happening now. So like when we need to communicate with something, or like have to visit to some particular web page, we give the web address www.fuelpass.gov.lk. So we give that, right? So what will happen is, right, it will take us to the specific path, right, to the specific web page that we want. Now the problem is, people, my computer, like even myself, I didn't know what's the IP address of this fuelpass.gov.lk. I just knew the name. Right? So, but when a device is communicating with another device, it needs to know what is the IP address of the communicating device. Right now, if I assume this is the full pass.lk, if this is the computer of the full pass.lk, if this is the my computer, so to connect my computer with the full pass.gov.lk, my computer should need to know what is the IP address of the full pass government.lk. So which I cannot understand or which I cannot remember. So what I am going to do is I am just typing what? The fuelpass.gov.lk on my browser. So then my friend DNS, right? The DNS will help me to find out what is the IP address of the fuelpass.gov.lk, right? In this table, somewhere in the DNS, they have this fuelpass.gov.lk, the name, plus the corresponding IP address. That is 180.56.38.191. Right? So what is going on is when I am providing the fuelpass.gov.lk on my browser, right? So the first thing that I am doing is I'm typing over here fuelpass.gov.lk, right? Where I'm typing this in my web browser, right? The search bar. Search bar, not the search bar actually, the address bar, the one you can see at the top, right? This is where I am typing it. So what my browser is doing is like it's going to communicate through the operating system with this DNS. And when DNS found, okay, he is asking for fuelpass.gov.lk. So this is the corresponding IP address. And that IP address will be sent to the browser. Now, since the IP address, my computer knows the IP address, or in my browser knows the IP address, then it has the ability of connecting with this particular computer. So I type my web address, then my DNS, domain name system, will provide the corresponding IP address to that particular domain name. Then my browser is finding the correct computer, which contains the fuelpass.gov.lk website. So when a computer contains a particular website, we call it a web server, right? So it will find the corresponding web server. Then once it is gone there, the documents regarding this fuelpass.gov.lk, these web pages, which is regarding the fuelpass.gov.lk, will be passed on to my computer. People, is that clear? Yes, everyone, is it clear? Right, so you can have the idea from here as well. No, Sasrika, what Sasrika is asking is, isn't it dangerous that the DNS will direct us to a malware website or something? DNS belongs to the internet service provider, which is the company which provides us the internet, right? So that picture is there in your book as well, what is going on when we type a URL. So as I told you, here we enter a particular URL. So the fuelpass.gov.lk, and through the OS, that particular domain name is sent to the DNS server. Then from the table, DNS server will find the IP address and send it to the operating system again. And that IP address will be given over here. See, we can't see this is happening, people. It happens under the like background, right? So when my browser knows the correct IP address, then it goes to the place where the particular web server is. And from that, the document regarding that web server taken onto the browser that I am browsing, right? So DNS server is connected via the service provider. If you are using a dialog connection, you will be connected with their DNS through the dialog. If you are using the Mobitel connection, you will be connected with the DNS of the Mobitel, right? Oh, Sasrika, that's a different talk. Cloudflare DNS protection is kind of a security thing, right? Not regarding the domain name system kind of thing. Right, so when that is happened, I can see the specific website on my browser, right? So we need a internet service provider to have the DNS facility. Anyway, when we are having an internet connection, we are always connected with the internet service provider. So when we are typing something on our web browser through our connection, the specific DNS will be contacted, then IP address will be obtained. It will be communicated to the browser. Then browser will find the specific web server. Then through that web server, we can take the details onto our browser. People, is that clear? Yeah. Sasrika, when you change your DNS address, sometimes it is reconfigured by the router because you can't change your DNS at your will. Even though you are changing it through the IP config or something, it will always reconfigured by your router because the router is given by the service provider, right? But sometimes if you change the DNS, then you are not given the chance to connect with the specific website because DNS is not supported. Right? All right. Okay, so let's write this down, people. First, let's go through the IP address, then we'll come to how internet works kind of things, right? So have the subheading IP address. So it's a small thing that we need to write. And IP stands for the Internet Protocol. I couldn't mention that to you, right? Right, so you can write of this thing, yeah, with the examples. And people, I couldn't mention another important point. the values that you are writing inside the IP address, these four numbers, IP address always contains these four numbers separated by a dot, right? It is called the dotted decimal notation, right? And this number can be varied from 0 to 255, right? That is the range, right? It's not going to change. It's not going to go beyond 255 and not less than 0, right? So inside any particular IP address, it has 4 digits, which is separated by a dot, which we call the dotted decimal notation. And there are another version of IP addresses which has 6 parts, but it is not here with our syllabus. We are talking about the IPv4 version, something advanced thing. So just for the moment, we are just talking about the IP address which has 4 segments, right? So everything is there in your explanation. So you better write these things. It will be sufficient for you. Yeah, the latter part is also important, I guess. Let me know when you're done, people. Okay, one is done. How about others? Okay, so no one seems to be writing. So I'm moving forward. Yeah, it's better you write this subheading. And you can write this particular part. Okay, are we done, people? Okay, if you are done, you have to copy this diagram to your book paper, right? And it's better you leave some space for that. Right? And you have to write this particular thing. Right? The internet which does not possess any owner, it controlled by protocols, like I told you earlier, as well as you have to copy these things at home. So you have a little big homework today, right? You have to copy the diagram. It shows how the internet works. And you have to write about the protocols at home, right? So keep that in mind. By next week, we are going to talk about this client server model. And yeah, we'll try our best to finish up this lesson as soon as possible, because the next one is a very interesting lesson, which is multimedia, where you have to edit the photos, do the animations, edit the audios, kind of things, right? So this is also a little bit theory related, but again, it is interesting because it's talking about the things that you know already, right? So please copy this down, people, the picture plus the things I have highlighted in purple, right? So then we'll meet on next week to discuss about the client server network from there onwards, right? Okay, people, so I'm going to end the session from here for today. I'll see you next week for the very same time, right? So thank you very much, everyone. Have a very nice weekend.